we're not supposed to be here.
And welcome to the Activity Continues podcast. We are your hosts. This is Megan.
And this is Amy. Thanks for joining us again this week. Megan will be recapping the Dead Files episode called The Whispering. It's from season 6 and it's episode 12. And it originally aired on June 17th, 2016.
Which is my brother's birthday.
Oh.
No, I picked it.
Okay.
I just picked it because I watched like a little trailer and it looked really creepy. So
Good.
It delivered. It was more sad than creepy.
Oh, we've had a bunch of sad ones lately. Hopefully the next one isn't going to be sad.
Yeah. Also, I do have a cold, so I'll probably be like muting off and on to cough. So I sincerely apologize for that. But
that's fine.
It's better than hacking into the mic.
Yeah.
So that's really why there was no rhyme or reason behind it.
Cool.
So big news today. Guess what I got in the mail?
What'd you get in the mail?
A fucking jury summons. I know.
Oh my God.
It is already filled out and ready to be sent back in the mail. I was like, I'm texting all my friends. I didn't text you because I knew I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
John's like, you're not going to do that, are you? I'm like, have we fucking met?
I know.
I'm not good. Yeah, of course I'm doing this. I'm in Hennepin County. It's probably going to be a murder trial.
I know.
So I was texting like a group chat of my friends, and I was like, just joking what I would say. Like, according to Homicide Hunter, this scene was very contaminated. How are you responding to those contaminations? According to Homicide Hunter and every other true crime documentary, it's almost always the husband. I noticed the husband is not the suspect right now. What evidence do you have to support that he's not the suspect?
Did we look at the husband? Because
he was 3 hours away. Have we considered that it was a hired hit?
Yeah.
What's her life insurance policy? Was it recently changed?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I'm probably just going to get a job offer to be a lawyer after this.
Probably. Yeah. They're going to say, you don't even have to go to law school.
I know.
You already know everything.
I'll pull a Kim Kardashian. I'll just wake up and be like, oh my God, I want to be a lawyer. And
I guess I'm a lawyer now.
I guess I'm a lawyer now. Kind of like how Donald Trump woke up and was like, I'm going to run for president.
Yeah. Well, worked for both of them, actually.
Anything's possible. That's my point. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yep.
They were like, what's your occupation? And I wrote HR generalist, but what I should have written is true crime aficionado.
Yeah. Well, I would say don't lead with that or they will kick you off.
I know. I'm not going. They'll be like, do you watch true crime? And I'll be like, what's true crime?
What do you mean? What does that mean?
I watch My Little Ponies with my toddler. We're really big into Paw Patrol. So maybe that disqualifies me.
I mean,
that is law enforcement.
Yeah, that is law enforcement.
That might disqualify me.
Well, that's exciting. When do you do that? When does it start?
It starts October 24th.
Oh.
So happy birthday to me.
Exactly. Oh my God, what if I get one too? Wouldn't that be amazing if we could both be on the same jury?
Oh my God.
Oh.
We'd have to act like we didn't know each other though.
I know.
I'll be like, who's that blonde chick? I've never seen you before in my entire life. Who are you? What's your name? Elisa? Oh, Amy. I'm sorry. Amy. Sorry.
Oh, I like Elisa though. That's pretty.
I know, right?
You can call me that.
Okay. You can call me Betty.
Betty?
Yeah.
Betty,
when you call me
Oh,
Al.
when you call me Al.
Okay.
Call me Al. I'll call you Betty.
Oh, I have one more thing. Sorry. One more thing. So I'm taking my SHRM course, so Society of Human Resource Management, which is a really big certificate to have in the HR world.
Good.
So
how are you at taking tests? Do you get test anxiety?
I do if I don't prepare.
Okay.
So Yeah, it's really good. It's just, and I already have had nightmares about not handing in assignments on time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, first
Well,
night.
and as somebody with anxiety already, I was thinking that's why I asked about test anxiety. I have major test anxiety. Even if you could test me on Ralph Macchio trivia and I would still be afraid I'd get something wrong.
Right.
And those of you who don't know, he was probably my first movie star boyfriend. And so I know pretty much everything there is to know about him.
Followed closely in second place by either, don't tell me, James Spader or Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe was never
No, it wasn't Rob Lowe. It was the other guy who turned out to be a douche. What was his name?
I don't even want to say it.
Scott Baio.
Chachi. Yeah, he turned out to be an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed about that. Actually, I liked him before Ralph Macchio, but I don't count him anymore.
No.
So Ralph Macchio is my number one. I still love Ralph Macchio.
Who doesn't love
He's perfect.
Ralph Macchio? Yeah.
He has a book coming out.
Does he?
Yeah, he didn't even ask me to promote this. But my friend Rachel texted me yesterday and she goes, "Are you going to get Ralph Macchio's book?" And I was like, "What?"
And
then
you were
she
like,
said,
"I am now.
I am now. I already pre-ordered it."
all
Well,
my
no, I
money.
didn't actually pre-order it. I put it in my wish list for my birthday
Okay.
because it's coming out right after my birthday.
It's like he knew.
I know.
Yeah.
We're twin flames.
Obviously.
Forget about his wife that he's been with since they were 14.
And your husband who you've been with for
Right.
long.
30 years.
Yeah. It's fine.
All out the window, just like you
Yep.
and John Stamos.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. John knows.
Yeah. Yep.
John knows.
Yeah.
So what's new with you now that I've hogged 35 minutes of the conversation? You're like, I'm a part of this podcast too. And I'm like, that's hilarious. Yeah, you think that.
Let's see. What is new? My mom has COVID.
Oh God.
Yeah.
She made it so long.
I know. And
How's she doing?
She's okay. She just had a
Good.
really bad sore throat for like 3 days and didn't even say anything to me about it. I hadn't talked to her in a couple days and I called her to tell her that Greg's mom was in the hospital.
You called somebody?
I know. I have to call my mom.
That's the real terror in this story.
Yeah.
Is Greg's mom okay?
So she has been talking about, I may have told you this, but she has been telling the doctors and mentioned it to Greg's brother too, that Greg and I are going to be closing on a multi-million-dollar real estate deal. And so we are set for life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So why didn't you tell me this?
I had brunch with Jody today and I was telling her about it. And she goes, "Well, tell me more." And I said, "I don't know anymore. You have to ask Phyllis."
You have to ask Phyllis.
Idea.
Flip phone Jody?
Yes, flip phone.
That's how
Jody.
I know her. I know. I'm sure she's so insulted that I know her.
Oh, she doesn't. No, she's very, very proud.
I also know her as Nurse Jody.
Yeah,
so
Nurse Jody with the flip phone.
Yep.
Yeah, she's proud of both of those things. But anyway, so I called my mom to tell her that that Phyllis was in the hospital and that we were going to go over to her house and do some cleaning in her apartment. And so we were going to be in the building. So I asked Mom if she needed anything. And she's like, "Oh, I've had a really bad sore throat for 3 days." I'm like, "Well, how come you didn't say anything?" So I grabbed a bag and put in a COVID test and some plastic gloves and some hand sanitizer and some chicken noodle soup and a protein shake and brought it all over. And I put it on her door and rang her doorbell and ran.
Hightailed it out of there.
And so she took the test later that night and it was positive. So,
oh, geez.
I know. But she's not terribly sick. She's vaccinated and boosted and all of that. And Greg's mom in the hospital now has it too. So, but she's not vaccinated because, she's a Fox News watcher.
Yep.
So,
they're going to track us.
Yep.
A quarter sticks to my injection site. The microchip.
Yep. So that's that. Mom news. That's about it. I don't think anything else exciting is going on.
I don't have any mom news.
Mm-mm. Well, that's good. Your mom's doing well.
Yeah.
So as long as you're going to be back in town on that day we talked about, that's when we will be talking to Lance, who is the client from the episode that Megan did last time, which is Hell in the Heartland.
Lance Bass.
Not Lance Bass.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. unfortunately. I'm sure this
But
Lance is delightful.
Yes, I'm sure he is a delight.
Yeah, he's very nice via
Yeah.
email. I've exchanged some emails with him. He's a nice guy. So we will be talking to him then, which means that episode, depending on how long it takes me to edit it, probably be out the week after. What would that be? October 3rd or something like that?
I don't know. It's numbers.
It's numbers. I can't do numbers. And I can't see my
nemesis.
calendar because there's a bunch of crap sitting on top of it.
Carry the one.
So
I don't know.
also, next week, a week from today, we will be in Badness Heights.
Badness Heights at the Psychic.
Not doing a live show or anything. Don't get that excited.
No.
We are going to
For
visit.
our 4 listeners in the Twin Cities. Hey,
my mom will come.
He can't come.
Not now.
He's got the Rona.
We are going to visit that psychic that we were supposed to do like 6 months ago.
I'm excited. I was telling my mom about it last night and she's really intrigued.
Ooh.
I know. So I'm really interested to see what she says.
Yeah.
And if she tells me I'm having any more kids, I'm going to take my money back and run away from her and be like, you are not.
Do not put that on me.
Do not put any more children in my uterus. She has done her job.
Because it's the psychic that got you pregnant.
Yeah, it was. Obviously.
Definitely.
Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it.
So that being that, we might not record next week unless we do it during the week and whatever. So at any rate, the next episode may be late. It may be missing. We're not really sure what's going to go on there.
We like to keep everybody on the edge of your seats.
Yeah. We'll be back to normal. Well, actually, we won't be back to normal for a bit because after the next episode, it might be just us talking about the psychic. We can do that, just a little shorty one. And then
the following episode,
then that will be with
Lance.
And then the one after that will probably be a regular episode. And then after that will be our contribution to the Boo Pod collaboration, which we have our topic picked.
We do.
Yeah, that was hard to do.
Holy crap.
There's not a lot. Yeah, I can't really get into it without spoiling what it is, but it was hard to find something and find enough information.
There's a lot of topics you could do a short dive on.
Yes.
Like a little shallow snorkel, maybe.
Right.
Through the reefs.
Yep. A little wade in the kiddie pool.
Yeah, but to do like a deep dive with the sharks there's not a lot of
not that much. Yeah,
not a lot of topics on that.
Yeah,
so
it was kind of tough, but I did find something, and we found enough source material. I also found, I'll send you a screenshot, but I found like 5 or 6 podcast episodes from different podcasts that I don't even know that covered this topic, so we can listen to those and we can watch that show. And okay, moving on, our promo partner this week, I picked the Skylark Bell. Because we haven't talked about her in a while. And that's Melissa Oliveri, who is our composer of our beautiful theme song.
Chills.
Yeah. Yep.
Literal chills.
And she just wrapped up her season of the Skylark Bell, which is called Wingspan. It's the second book in her trilogy. And she just released the last one. And oh my God, it's so good.
Nice.
It's so good. So
good.
I don't know when the next one's coming, but friends, if you have not listened to the Skylark Bell, head on over there.
Drop what you're doing.
Well, not everything.
After you're done listening.
Yes, after this episode. Then go on and listen to it. They're very short episodes. They're like 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes would be a long one. So they're real short. So you could probably do like the whole book in a couple of days if you wanted to, but I like to do it in just short little spurts. I maybe listen to 2 at a time. And she's a beautiful voice, and she's got music and sound effects and everything. It's a whole production. It's like a radio show.
Yeah.
It's amazing. She's so good. So that's our promo partner. You're going to hear the trailer in the middle of this episode. So I think that's all I have. Half an hour, 40 minutes into starting.
To be fair, like 35 of those 40 minutes were me talking.
Well, that's fine. I asked you a lot of questions.
I had a lot to say, which is like shocking. I know.
No,
normally
that never
it's like,
happens.
Normally it's like pulling teeth.
Welcome to the mysterious world of the Skylark Bell. Our story begins on the outskirts of a small town called Pocket, where Margaret Phaeton, better known as Magpie, must connect a series of unexplained events, psychic visions, and century-old folktales before the mysterious silence hanging over the abandoned farm at Meadow Lane spreads to the entire town. The Skylark Bell is a fiction podcast in serial format, with new chapters every Friday and bonus episodes that recount real-life paranormal experiences. Find the Skylark Bell on all major platforms and at theskylarkbell.com. I'm Melissa Oliveri. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so I do have a content warning. There is a brutal murder with stabbing.
Ooh.
And we also talk about white settlers destroying indigenous people.
Oh, great.
Murdering them and
Great.
just basically wiping them off the face of the earth. So that is so fun.
That sounds familiar.
Yep. Basically all of the world. Okay, so we're in Concrete, Washington. Now, we're with Steve and Melissa, and honestly, Melissa, she has no energy left. So, like, everything she says is like barely a whisper. I mean, she's just, so the first words out of her mouth are, in the whole show,
I'm terrified to be in my own home. It's like living in a nightmare.
Oh.
They moved there in 2006. Her husband is in the military. He was in the Navy and also the Marines. I don't know how that works, but
I don't
he
know how that
served.
works either.
I don't know, but he's done a couple of tours. So thank you for his service, and to all the vets who are listening, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
They bought the land and they had the house built. So it's a brand new house. They're the only ones who've lived in it. And so Steve asks if she knows of any of the history of the land. And Melissa says very like at run of the mill, well, I know there was a woman next door that had her throat slit. Oh. And Steve goes, wow. Okay.
Coming in hot.
So she lives there with her husband, Brandon. And she used to live there with her son, Taylor, but he moved out 2 months ago. And that's all we know about Taylor. He's not on the show. Oh. We don't have any other information on him, just that he left. So we don't know why. Why he left. Nope. Maybe he left because he got, was grown up and was like, I'm done. Or maybe he left because of what was happening. So some of the things that happen are they hear sounds like banging. They see shadow figures. They see apparitions, and they get touched. They feel people touching them.
Ugh.
As she's talking to Steve, she kind of stops and says, did you hear that? And he said no. And she said something went right in her ear, and she's touching her ear, saying, shh, like telling her to be quiet.
It went right by my ear, like, shh. Tell me to be quiet.
Well, you're not going to be quiet. So whatever's here can go to hell, all right?
Go, Steve.
And then he said that he's there with her and she's safe, and she's so scared. She's just crying. And Steve is like, okay, well, you need to calm down. Like, you're shaking. And I'm like, well, no shit, Steve. And he just holds her hands, and they do some breathing at the table, like in and out breaths. Oh my God. Steve, please be my friend. Steve gives the best hugs. Yeah. I know I say this all the time, but he does.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Envelops you in the hug. And then she says she just feels like she's going crazy because other people can't hear it. And she said she just feels like they say, you're going nuts, you're crazy. And Steve says, well, I'm not saying that, am I?
Oh,
Steve, I love you. And Melissa thinks it's affecting her marriage. She said they used to be really strong. And she said she feels like whatever is there is trying to divide them and split them apart.
Yeah, we've seen that before.
Mm-hmm. Her health is failing. She has osteoporosis. She sees a specialist for her throat. She has vocal cord dysfunction. She also says she feels like she's being choked by whatever is there. Steve asks if she ever had any of these illnesses before, and she said no. Before living there, she was perfectly healthy, and then she whispers, "I think it's trying to kill me."
Oh God.
She like I said, she hardly speaks above a whisper. Like she's just it's almost like she's just beaten down.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
she
Just given up.
Yep.
How long did you say they've lived there? Or did you?
Since 2006.
Six.
So
Okay. And that
16 years.
Oh,
And so the house is brand new. They had it built. So nobody's lived in it besides them.
okay.
So we go to the master bedroom, and honestly, this is the only place in the entire house that we are, including on Amy's walk. Amy's walk, she does the outside, but she doesn't do the inside. As far as I could tell, it's never anywhere else other than this master bedroom and outside.
Wow.
So we're in the master bedroom, and Melissa says they hear voices. She says, "We hear two females arguing." And Steve said, "Well, could it be the TV?" And she said, "No, the TV is never on." She said she had a woman sit on the end of the bed and try to touch her. She said she described her as having long hair and a skeleton face.
Oh, lovely.
She said it was definitely meant to scare her. And she sat on the bed and reached out to her, and she said, "You're going to die."
Oh, God.
She said, "You're going to die."
Relax. On my hand. Relax.
And like, she is rough. It's rough. She is really shaken up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not good. Then she said she was taking a bath 2 nights ago. She got out of the bath and she said her leg was burning. She looked down and she had scratches on her legs. And so I sent you a photo of that. Steve says this is one of the more severe cases they've worked on. And she just whispers, "Make it go away and make it stop hurting me."
Oh.
And Steve hugs her and she just whispers, she says, "I'm so tired. I'm so tired." I don't blame her. She is,
Good
I
Lord.
mean, she is like, she is not good. So then we talked to Brandon, who's her husband. And Steve said that, you know, Melissa thinks whatever's in the house is trying to kill her. And he says, "I can't say that it's not." Like he agrees with her.
Okay.
He said that he gets neck pain, like a rope is around his neck, pulling him in the air, and he tastes blood in his mouth. And he said, "I've had blood in my mouth many times, Steve." He said, "I know what blood tastes like." He said it happens multiple times and it lasts 5 to 10 minutes. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's constantly happening. So he said he was watching TV and he felt like something weird. He looked over. There's a kitchen door and it has like a window in it with, you know, normal. Why am I describing a fucking window? You know what a fucking window is. So
It's
you know,
glass and
it's
generally
glass,
has like,
and it has like a 4 squares in it. And so he said he saw a child's face in the window.
oh.
And Steve asked, could it have been a neighborhood kid? And, you know, like, did you go out and check and see if it was a kid? And Brandon says, "We don't have any kids in the neighborhood."
Oh.
He says, "You think you're losing your mind. You think you're going crazy." And then this incident that he talked about, he said his wife, and so Melissa and Taylor had left. Or was it Tyler?
I think you said Tyler.
Let me see. Oh my God. Taylor.
Okay.
Okay, so, geez Louise, I'm a mess. Dory. So he said Melissa and Taylor had left. He was sitting on the couch watching TV, and then all of a sudden he said there was a black shadow thing standing in front of the TV. He said, "As clear as you are standing in front of me." Couldn't see through it. He said it scared him so badly he gasped. And he actually had to stop telling the story. He was so shaken.
Wow.
He like had to stop and pull himself together. He said he looked down, and when he looked back up, it was gone. And he actually started crying. He's like,
wow.
Tears didn't fall, but you could hear it in his voice. He's like, how do you protect against something you can't protect against?
Like, you can't see.
You can't see it.
Not
you
really.
Can't fight it.
Yeah.
You know, how do you fight an apparition?
Right.
I mean, he said both him and Melissa feel like they're going crazy. And I don't blame them. I mean, how do you and I mean, I could tell you I saw an apparition. You'd be like, "Oh my God." But if I told somebody else, they'd be like, "You're fucking loony."
Yeah. They'd say that doesn't exist.
Yeah. And I'd be like, "Well, you're fucking wrong."
Because it does.
It does. So we talked to Tammy. She was a former neighbor. She used to live next door to them, really close. She said about 140 yards from where they are right now. She moved 2 years ago because she had a lot of experiences in the house she couldn't explain.
She
was afraid in her own house.
Okay.
She was afraid for her life and for her kids. She said they would all get so sick, horrendous stomach pains, couldn't stop throwing up to the point where they could hardly breathe because they were throwing up so much.
Oh, Jesus.
And she said since she's moved, haven't had any issues, perfectly healthy.
Oh, my God.
She said their moods and attitudes were affected as well. She said they were angry and they were not angry people. She said they were fighting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where it gets interesting. Tammy said she talked to local tribes and was informed that it used to be Native American land before the white people settled here.
Mm-hmm.
The Native Americans told her that it was soaked with blood and that people should not live on this property.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
My guess is Amy's going to say that, too.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
So, do you remember when Melissa mentioned that a woman had her throat slit?
Uh-huh.
Steve looks into this and he talks to Eric Strauskine. They
Nailed
didn't
it.
say his name. Nailed it. And so the woman's name was Vicky Silvis. She was married to John Silvis. They got married in 1993. They moved to Concrete in 1996. Shortly after that, their marriage falls apart. And he ends up moving back to Port Angeles where he worked as a trucker. So very, very quickly after moving there, he leaves. So then we talk about the crime. December 8th, 1997, she was an accountant, normally very prompt to work, showed up on time. She didn't show up to work that day. So the manager sent a coworker to check on her, found her dead in the driveway in a pool of her own blood.
Ew.
Covered her with a blanket, to which I wrote contamination. And Steve said that too. So he contaminated the scene.
Yep.
Death certificate describes her death as acute exsanguination. So basically she stabbed in the neck multiple times and bled out.
Ugh.
It's still an open case. It's
What?
still unsolved.
Wasn't her
and
husband?
No, not that he had an alibi. He was 3 hours away. He had receipts, to which I said it could have been a hit, but
Exactly.
we talked to him. And
Okay.
I don't think it's him,
Okay.
but, I tried to find more information on this. There's nothing.
Really?
There's nothing out there. Yeah, it's an open case. No sign of forcible entry. The lights were on. The interesting part is she was laying in a pool of her own blood, but her shoes were 20 feet away.
Okie doke. That's bizarre.
Yeah, stumped. I'm stumped. So the last time she was seen at a party was the night before with 4 other people. 2 of the names that came out were Ray Valentin. Should have paid attention to that. And Richard Brink. So Vicky was drinking and Richard Brink says he took her home. According to him, they drank more and they would be kissing 1 minute and then the next minute she'd be cussing him out and yelling at him and then they'd go back to kissing. So he said he got uncomfortable with this and got fed up with this and left at approximately 1:15 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And according to him, when he left, she was still alive. Ray is the alibi for Mr. Brink. He said he knows Mr. Brink came home at 1:30. And Steve said, well, that's not much of an alibi. And Eric said, I would have to say you're not mistaken. So then Steve reaches out to the ex-husband, John. He wants to talk to Steve because he said, this is an open murder case. He said, I don't feel like anybody is looking into this. I don't feel like anybody is trying to find out who killed her. And so that's why he's talking, because he wants to get the coverage.
Okay.
He took a polygraph and passed, to which I say polygraphs are useless because don't ever take a polygraph.
Don't ever take one.
If you're guilty, don't take one.
Yeah.
Because
especially if you're innocent.
Especially if you're innocent. Yeah. Because they can't use it against you in a court of law. They're just going to use it to say, well, you failed.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously know something.
Mm-hmm.
And there are millions of reasons why you could have failed. Anyway, I'm done. That's off my soapbox. So now we talked to John and they actually met at the scene of the crime, which I'm like, that's morbid.
Wow.
Yeah. He said Vicky was very outgoing, but she was jealous. And she would accuse him of things that he didn't do, step it out on her, whatever. And that's why he left. He just got tired of being accused of cheating. And I don't blame him. You know, that's exhausting. I've been in that situation, and it's usually because the other person is cheating and they're projecting onto you.
Yep.
So Steve asks how John learned of he kept calling her his wife. How did you learn about your wife's murder? So I don't know if they were just separated and the divorce never went final, because he left in 96 and she was killed in 97.
Yeah,
so not
it's
a lot
possible.
of time.
Yeah, it's possible that it never was
Or if
final.
he's just doing it to be dramatic. I don't know. John said he was in bed and someone started beating on the side of his house. He said he got up and went to the door and opened it, and there was a guy with a Skagit, which is where they are, county sheriff's department jacket on. The officer told him by the end of the night, the officer's like, it just would be easier if you confessed. So like trying to get a confession out of him. John is like,
he told me how much easier it would be if I just confessed. I said, confess to something I never had anything to do with?
And I'm like, yeah, that's not okay. So John's theory about why she was killed has to do with an anonymous letter, I believe, that Vicky's mom received in the mail. The person who wrote this letter explains what happened to Vicky. So like I said, she was an accountant. She had allegedly uncovered a stealing operation that had been going on for years, to which I say, I wonder if he meant like embezzlement.
Yeah, probably.
But, you know, he said it involved a lot of money. He thinks she told the wrong person and they took her out.
Wow.
And that's what he thinks happened.
Well, that's probably right.
Yeah. So we're digging through the archives now. And he not only found dozens of people who died of illnesses on the land, he found the murder of a Native American man. So we go and talk to Jeff Davis, who's an author. He says the murder is unsolved to this day.
Jeff Davis is the one that he went and talked to in the episode I did last week.
Yep. He
Same
said,
guy.
my friend.
Yeah.
He said, I'm talking to my friend, Jeff.
Yeah. Same
So
guy. Cool.
the Indian tribe that lived on this land were called the Upper Skagit tribe. And I hope I'm saying the name right. And if I'm not, I apologize. And please let me know. I'm not doing it on purpose.
Right. Of course.
So I sent you a photo that was taken of them in the early 1900s.
Yep.
They were displaced by white settlers. Shocking.
Yeah.
So battles in the Northwest started around 1855, and tensions were still high into the 1900s. This tribe was wiped out, just completely gone extinct, essentially, because of what happened with the white settlers. This murder happened in 1905. We have a Native American man named Wapato Joe. He went missing, 75 years old, and he was well liked, and he just went missing. 2 weeks later, they found his body on the bank of the river, 300 feet from the property. He was shot through the throat. And not only that, he was shot at such close range that there were powder burns on his throat.
Oh, my God.
The killer also cut off his hands.
Oh.
So this was a very, very brutal murder. And I don't know why they cut his hands off if they left his head. I mean, I don't mean to be morbid, but you could identify him.
Yeah. It was probably more something like whoever killed him thought he stole something from them or something. That's often that's what the hands are about.
No arrests were made in that. And Jeff said he didn't think that people looked very hard for the killer because why would they?
Why would they?
He's just a Native American man. Who cares? Disclosure, we care.
We care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we get to Amy's. So the first thing Amy says when she arrives,
There's definitely something strange down the street.
she said there's an energy field. Somebody put a barrier around the property. And we get to that later. She said there's a lot of violence going on there. All kinds of shit is going on. She said,
You know, if they hear people around their house, they've got to be hearing people talking. They've got to be hearing conversations. It's pretty bad. Too much going on.
she hears a lot of voices talking about illnesses. Amy said they seem to be in this area of containment, like they're being kept there. And she said the living would hear people talking. She said the dead people are very sick and the living would be feeling some of these symptoms. So then she goes inside and immediately she starts to feel sick. She says it's fear. You get so afraid that you feel sick.
Wow.
So we're back outside. Amy hears a woman and she thinks she was murdered. She sees 3 men with her. One man has a double barrel shotgun and 2 guys are with her. She called them bullies. And she said they don't want to talk about the woman at all. And they don't want the woman to talk to Amy at all. They're trying to keep her away. So we go to the master bedroom and Amy sees the dead woman who crawls all around. She said Amy sees her crawling into bed and she's wrapping herself around the living woman. And she said this is not good for the living woman.
Well, no, I wouldn't imagine.
Obviously, yeah. She said the living person is taking on the dead person's energy, so they will act like the dead woman. They'll take on mannerisms, speech patterns, kind of just all of this that the dead person used to have will kind of seep into the living woman.
Did Amy's demeanor change when she was talking about that? Okay.
Nope.
Because every once in a while she'll do that. She'll like drop into a weird accent or something. And I think, I don't know, but it seems like something's not taking over her because she's strong enough to stop that. But I think sometimes they speak through her and like their accent and everything comes out of her voice.
Nope, she didn't this time.
Okay.
She said the 2 bullies are around when the dead woman like strays away from them and they have to get her back because she belongs to them. So when the 2 bullies are retrieving the dead woman, the living people would feel like they are being grabbed or touched.
Didn't the murder that you talked about, there were 2 men involved, right?
Yeah.
One was the alibi for the other one.
Yep.
So who's to say that the alibi guy is telling the truth at all?
We'll get to it.
Okay.
So we go outside again.
I didn't watch this episode, by the way. I did not watch it this time. I saw it back in the day, really but I don't remember anything from it.
So we're outside again. She said,
What I'm getting is that if you enter this space, you're kind of like doomed.
And Matt asks how being here would affect the living. And Amy said they could potentially go insane.
Ooh.
Amy said she doesn't think this is a good place for anything alive. She said she's really freaked out. And again, she said if you enter the space, you're kind of doomed. Back in the master bedroom, trying to get more on the bed lady, she said she's really confused about how she died. Matt asks, does Amy know when she died? And Amy said it doesn't feel like very long ago that she passed away. She said she died horribly outside. She said she was totally blindsided. There was pain to her left eye, very, very sharp. And then she said pain to her head and neck area. She said it's like she's not registering what happened to her. It was that quick that like she can't process it. So again, we talk about the 2 guys in all black. And the third guy, like I said, the one with the shotgun, she said he has a hat on and a long jacket. And she strikes Amy as the type of man who held a position of power in life. Matt asks if they had anything to do with killing her. Amy said she knew these men, and Amy said she had some sort of relationship with the man who killed her, and that it was just completely unexpected, like totally caught her out of the blue. And now we're back outside. So Amy said there are Native Americans here and they want nothing to do with this land. She said they're repulsed by the land.
Really?
She said they're very angry, but angry is an understatement. And she thinks the Native Americans put the barrier up. She's getting that this land is contaminated and no living organism is supposed to be here. And then she whispers, yeah, we're not supposed to be here. She said the barrier traps people who died on the land. She doesn't know if it traps people and like pulls them in if they didn't die on the land, but she said it definitely traps people who die on the land. And she said Native American people would throw their crazy, her word, not mine, people on the land. She said, and then they would basically go mad. They would scream and holler and yell and act like animals. So then we go to the sketch. She said the murdered woman stood out the most to her. So that's who she had sketched. So reveal, Brandon and Melissa are there. They can't afford to leave. So Steve goes into the backstory. Yeah. about, what they're experiencing and why they called him in and blah, 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 blah. We already talked about it. Amy said when she first approached the property, the house is located on, she got some sort of energy barrier. She said it was very negative and very, very, very powerful. She said there are a lot of dead that are trapped on the land. And Amy thinks that the living would hear voices or people talking, and they would most likely feel nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
Amy said she also kept hearing that they're not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be here. Melissa says that they've heard children, they've heard men, they've heard women talking. Brandon talks about the child in the window. He said it looks like a blue and white hologram projection of a face looking at you in the glass.
Weird.
Yeah. Steve said, well, you mentioned sickness. Melissa, why don't you tell Amy what's going on? And she said a couple months ago, she got an iron infusion because her blood won't produce iron. She said she's got vocal cord dysfunction, nausea, just a lot of shit going on here. So Amy says that the Native Americans put up the barrier. And what happened is some of the men from the tribe would come out to the land. And after exposure to the area, they would go insane. And so the Native Americans felt the best thing to do was block off the land. Amy said what freaked her out was that they were telling her that any living person who steps onto the land becomes tainted. And they were saying the phrase doomed.
So even Amy and Steve and the crew.
Yeah, if they stay, they're doomed.
Wow.
So then Steve talks about Tammy. She said she was fighting with her husbands. She had stomach pains. She moved away and she was fine. Then he said that Tammy went to a local Native American tribe and they told her that there was too much bloodshed on the land and they couldn't help her. Mm-hmm. And Amy goes, really? Okay. You know how Amy does. So,
really?
Yeah. Oh, really? Interesting. You know how she is.
Yeah.
So then we get a little bit backstory of the tribe. Like I said, it was the Upper Skagit tribe. Steve says they were around for 7,000 to 8,000 years.
Jeez.
And Amy goes, holy something. Because they bleep it out.
My guess is, well, a couple of words it could have been. I know she's fond of the F word.
Yeah. It ended in a T. It ended in a T.
Then it was probably shit.
Shit or Christ. One of the two.
Yeah.
She shows a photo. So that's when Steve shows the photo of the Native American people. Yeah. He said, 1840s were when the white settlers came in and started pushing them out. 50 years of fighting and the settlers wiped out almost the entire tribe. And Melissa says, they've had such a run of bad luck since they moved there. She would joke with Brandon, like, did we move on and onto an Indian burial ground? Mm-hmm. And Amy goes, it's not a burial ground. It's kind of their dumping ground. So they dumped their people that they couldn't help basically onto that ground. So then she talks about the woman who was murdered. She said there are two men who are constantly with her, preventing her from speaking to Amy. They didn't want Amy to find out who had killed her. Amy felt she knew them, and she felt that they were around the time of her murder, but they didn't kill her.
Oh.
The only thing Amy got on the man who actually killed her was something about stealing money. It was relatively recent, and she died a really horrible death. Amy said she felt pains in her neck and her head. Right as she said that, Brandon kind of went like this, grabbed his neck and said, I'm sorry, guys, I'm having neck pain.
Oh my
Amy
God.
She said, it's really bad here. Brandon said it happens a lot, comes out of nowhere, can't breathe, taste blood, kind of the whole shebang. Yeah, it's really bad. So then Steve talks about Vicky, and he said Richard Brink, one of the men who went back to her house and was making out with her and then left, he died in 2003 of a heart attack at the age of 47. Then we hear about the letter. So 18 months after Vicky was murdered, an anonymous letter was sent to her mom and then John, outlining this embezzlement theory and how she was killed because of that. Amy said the theory of the money is interesting. And then she said,
I know our killer is dead because he's here.
And my stomach just dropped.
I just got a chill.
Yeah. And my breath, it literally took my breath away.
Oh my God.
I know. And then she said, well, I had a sketch done of the woman. When Melissa sees the sketch, she kind of gets this look on her face. And Amy says, do you know her? And Melissa said, I don't know. And Amy says, have you felt her in your room? Have you felt her in your bed? And Melissa says she can't breathe. She can't breathe. Amy says she'll get into bed with Melissa and wrap her arms around her. The reason she does this is she feels safe from the two men who are trying to get her.
Oh, Vicky.
I know. That's when Amy says being in close proximity with a dead person can make you extremely sick and also cause you to take on the dead's personality. And then Brandon says she's changed a lot. He said he told her the other night that she's not even the same woman he married. Wow. He said sometimes it's like living with a stranger.
Wow.
Yeah. Bizarre. And Melissa says the woman sat on the end of the bed and had a skeleton face and was reaching out to her and telling her, like, you're going to die. Amy shows the second sketch, which is the sketch of her wrapped around Melissa. She doesn't even flinch. She says, I know that. She said she feels like she has a lot of pressure on her. She has a lot of nightmares. She said she feels like there's a snake wrapping around her. And Brandon says she's been complaining of chest pains, feels like a rubber band is wrapping around her. Amy says she's killing you. She's killing you.
God.
Amy says when she sits down to a table to do a reveal, she'll scan people. And she said what she saw around Melissa was death. Melissa whispers to Brandon over and over and over again, I told you, I told you, I told you. And then she said, I told you I was dying. Amy said, you have a choice to make here. And Melissa says, I know the choice. Steve says, sweetie, you're a fighter. And Melissa just whispers, I'm just so tired. I'm tired. I'm so tired. So then Steve says, well, this is the part of the reveal where we have to figure out if it's safe for you to stay. And Amy says, this is when my job really sucks. She said there are places and locations that should never have been inhabited. And this is one of them. She said, for your survival, you need to leave, and you need to leave now. Like ASAP.
Get in the car right now.
Yeah. Like, let's all leave together. We'll go to Denny's for a grand slam. And then we'll go to a hotel.
Yeah.
Steve goes, there's no way you can like put up a barrier or anything. Amy says the Native Americans knew that this place wasn't livable and they put their garbage here.
God.
Melissa says, if for some reason we can't go, and Amy makes a face like, fucking don't stay.
Don't say that.
So this is when it gets really shitty. Because Brandon says he'd have to send Melissa away and he can't stay. He says he's been with he lives there with his mother. He said after he came back from tours, his mother's health declined and she can't leave. Melissa says she won't leave Brandon, and he says, thank you. And I'm like, no. This is when, and I texted you about this last night. Like, he said, thank you. No, this is not a thank you. Stay with me. This is you need to get the hell out of here because you're literally dying. He says, I've been with you 22 years. I'm not leaving you. So Steve says, can you at least promise to think about it? And Melissa says, yeah, we'll think about it for sure. Brandon says, I was hoping there'd be a way out. Well, there is a way out, Brandon. You fucking heard
move.
it.
Yeah. You just don't want to believe it.
You just don't want to move. So the wrap up, they've decided to stay. The activity continues. I mean, in this reveal, Melissa had essentially resigned herself to dying.
Yeah.
Like, you could just tell. You could tell there was no fight in her.
Yeah.
She was just exhausted. And I tried to find some follow-up information, and I was not able to find anything. So,
God, I wonder if she survived.
It was so sad. I hope she did, but I doubt it. That dead woman is sucking her energy. How is she supposed to survive that?
And the dead woman isn't doing that like to be mean, right?
No, she's just trying to feel
herself.
safe from these two men who are bullying her.
For eternity. That's just that's horrifying.
I know. It's really sad. So that's the case. Yay.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you first told me that this was really, that you were doing this one that was really sad and that this woman was basically dying. And that's why I said, is this the one about the woman who has cancer? Because I'll just say this because I don't think I'm ever going to cover this one because it was so fucking sad. but there was one, and I was in one of the newer ones, I think, maybe season 13. And this woman had stage 4 breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And she's a sweet woman, but she was pretty ill, pretty weak and everything. And she was like, this house is trying to kill me. And Amy said, you've got to go, basically. And then the wrap up, I'm going to get all verklempt. The wrap up that it was, whatever. She died 2 weeks after they left.
Oh my God.
It was awful.
Wow. That's terrible.
Yeah. So on that note, I promise we'll do a fun one next. Well, actually, the next one we're doing is another listener one. So I don't know which one it is. I mean, I know which one it is, but I don't know. I haven't watched it in recent memory. So I don't know. But at any rate, and since we don't know what's going on for the next couple episodes, we're just flying by the seat of our pants over here.
That's how we roll at the Activity Continues podcast.
That's right. If we do an episode next week, it will be, I will be covering Evil Underground. It's from season 2. It's episode 16. It takes place in Rock Island, Illinois. And it originally aired in 2013. It was a recommendation from listener and fellow podcaster named Lily.
I love that name.
I know.
I was going to name my daughter Lily if I had one, but then I didn't.
And it was a boy.
That was a good story.
So her name's Lily, and she has a podcast called Haunted Happy Hour.
Love it.
They will be our promo partner for whichever week we end up doing.
Yeah.
During her episode. Yeah. Oh, do we have a dad joke? This is the same one I picked from last time. And last time's joke was pretty dang funny. I even told Greg and he laughed.
I forget what it was, but I know I laughed real hard.
You did. You laughed so hard, like you
were
stopped
like,
making any noise.
It's not that funny. And I'm like, you don't know.
It was just like I was like reading or something. So I was listening to you and you weren't doing anything. And I looked up and you were just like, okay.
Why? Here's one.
Okay.
Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
I don't know.
In case they get a hole in one.
Oh, but
yeah, yours was way funnier.
No, that was a good one. That's just a groaner. I mean, that's a true dad joke.
Yeah.
That's a groaner.
I forget what yours was, but God,
I'll just read it because I'm looking right at it.
Okay, perfect.
After an unsuccessful harvest, why did the farmer decide to try a career in music?
Oh, right. And I don't remember. What was it?
Because he had a ton of sick beats.
That was good. Oh my God, that was so good.
I only seem to get sick on weekdays. I must have a weekend immune system.
Okay.
I know. Again, but I'm
Thanks, folks. We'll be here all week. Tip your wait staff.
Tip your wait staff. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We'll talk to you next time.
Who knows what the hell is going to happen next week?
Nobody.
Maybe nothing.
Check your magic 8 ball. It's probably got more knowledge than we do.
Yep. We're gonna be playing it by ear. So we'll put something out, even if it's just something I cut out of another episode or something.
We'll get you something. We won't leave our 5 fans hanging.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
I think. Bye.
Maybe. We'll see you at some point in the future. Nobody knows when that is.
The psychic probably knows. Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a suggestion for which episode of the Dead Files we should cover next, or if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.